Hi there, I'm Dr. Alessandra Latour, founder of the Latour Leadership Academy. For more than 16 years, I've worked with leaders across organizations to strengthen how they think, decide, and operate, especially in high-pressure environments. This podcast is where we go beyond surface-level leadership advice. We talk about the patterns, behaviors, and structural gaps that actually shape how leaders show up, and why capable leaders still get stuck. You won't find generic frameworks here. You'll find perspective, clarity, and the kind of thinking that helps you lead more effectively in the moments that matter most. If you're ready to lead with greater clarity, discipline, and intention, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Micromanagement is one of the most commonly criticized leadership behaviors. People talk about it constantly. They complain about bosses who check every detail, question every decision, or insist that every task be done a very specific way. And while micromanagement often gets labeled as a personality flaw, it's usually something deeper than that. Most of the time, micromanagement is fear, disguised as standards. Fear that something will go wrong, fear that the leader will be held accountable, fear that if they loosen control, performance will slip. So leaders respond by tightening their grip. They monitor more closely, they correct small details, they insert themselves into decisions that don't actually require their involvement. And while the intention may be protecting quality, the impact is usually the opposite. Because micromanagement doesn't just slow work down, it slowly erodes ownership. One of the biggest shifts leaders have to make as they grow is recognizing that success doesn't require everyone to work the way they would work. Just because your team member doesn't approach something the way you would doesn't mean the outcome won't be successful. Different people solve problems differently. They organize information differently, they communicate differently, they prioritize steps differently. I like to think about leadership in the most everyday way possible. So here's a simple example. If you watch a robot vacuum clean a room, and it looks almost completely random, doesn't it? It moves in one direction, bumps into something, turns, heads somewhere else. There's no neat pattern to it at all. But if a person vacuums with an upright vacuum, they usually move in straight, organized lines across the room. The methods look totally different, but the goal is the same. The room ends up clean either way. The diversity of thinking that comes from individuals applying different methods is exactly what allows teams to accomplish more together than any one person could accomplish alone. But that only works if leaders are willing to let go of controlling the method. Early in leadership, many people believe their job is to ensure things are done correctly. But more experienced leaders realize something important. Their job isn't to control how everything gets done. Their job is to ensure the outcome is clear. That means setting expectations around the result, clarifying priorities, defining success, establishing guardrails when they're needed, plus offering support in strategic, meaningful ways, of course. And then stepping back to allow their capable people the space to figure out the path forward. When leaders focus too heavily on method, something interesting happens. They unintentionally train their team to stop thinking. Why invest energy finding better ways to solve problems if the solution will ultimately be overridden? Why take initiative if the leader will redo the work anyway? Micromanagement creates compliance. Ownership creates progress. And the difference between these two environments often comes down to a single mindset shift. Leaders have to become comfortable with different approaches that still lead to successful outcomes. Sometimes a team member will complete a project differently than you would have. Maybe their process is less structured. Maybe they sequence the work differently. Maybe they rely on tools or communication styles you wouldn't naturally choose. But if the outcome is strong, the difference isn't a problem. It's actually a strength. Because when leaders allow multiple approaches to coexist, teams become far more adaptable, more creative, more resilient when unexpected challenges arise. The most effective leaders I've worked with didn't surround themselves with people who thought exactly like they did. They surrounded themselves with people who brought different strengths, different instincts, and different ways of solving problems. And they trusted those people to use those strengths. Micromanagement shrinks the capacity of a team. Ownership expands it. And leadership at its core is about expanding what a group of people can accomplish together. That expansion only happens when leaders shift from oversight to ownership, from controlling every step to trusting the capable people they've chosen to bring into the room. If you want more guidance on how to use delegation to support your team and reduce any tendency you have to micromanage, we dive deep into that in our course, Leadership by the Minute, Strategic Time Management for Leaders. You can learn more about it at latourleadership.com/time management. Thanks for joining me today. If this episode challenged your thinking, that's the point. And it's exactly the kind of work we continue beyond the podcast. You can explore more at latourleadershipacademy.com, where I share leadership programs and resources designed to help leaders translate insight into sustained behavior change. And if you're not already subscribed, join our weekly newsletter at authenticleadershipunlocked.com. It's where I go deeper on the patterns shaping leadership right now and what most people are missing. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next episode.